Hey guys. Today we're going to work with the commutative property and the associative property of addition. I'm on page 435. All right. The commutative property of addition is when you flip the numbers around and it does not matter which order they're in, it's still going to give you the same thing. So they gave the example of 4 plus 5 and 5 plus 4. It's going to give you 9 no matter which way you do it. Okay. And then the associative property groups numbers differently in parentheses. They gave the example of 5 plus 8 plus 4 equals 5 plus 8 plus 4. All right. Now, we're going to look at the problem there at the bottom. And it's talking about the map of the Florida Keys. Whew, that's where Miss kind of wishes she was at today during this quarantine. Y'all know beaches are my favorite. All right, so let's look. The map shows the lighthouse of the Florida Keys and their distances apart in miles. The Dry Tortugas lighthouse is the furthest west and the Alligator Reef is the furthest east. They want to know what the difference is between those two lighthouses, it says, because they're going to travel from the Alligator to the Dry Tortugas. And they want to know what that total distance is. So they measured the distance between each of them, and we're going to add them together. But they want us to group them so that it's easier to work with. So if you look there at the bottom, 70 plus 5 tenths plus 43 and 6 tenths plus 34 and 5 tenths. I would regroup these using the commutative property just to figure out different groups. And I would put together 70 and 5 tenths plus 34 and 5 tenths. The reason I would do it that way is because 5 tenths and 5 tenths are the same fraction. And you can add those easier together. See it? Okay. So I rewrote this like this. Okay. This is the first line. 70 and 5 tenths, and I'm going to use my commutative property, and I'm going to group with it, or put beside of it, 34 and 5 tenths, plus 43 and 6 tenths. Then on the next line below, they want you to use parentheses, and that's when we're going to group them a little bit differently than before. We're going to group these two together in parentheses using the associative property to change that grouping, because it makes it easier for us to add 5 tenths and 5 tenths. Do you see that? 5 tenths plus 5 tenths gives us a whole, doesn't it? So that's why I would group these two fractions together. Then I would add 43 and 6 tenths to that. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go to my scratch sheet of paper, and I'm going to add 70 and 5 tenths plus 34 and 5 tenths. I have the same denominator I'm ready to add, okay? So 10 is our denominator. 5 and 5 gives me 10. Now 4 plus 0 is going to give me 4, and 7 plus 3 is 10. Now, you know that 10 tenths is the same thing as a whole, right? So we're going to put 10 tenths equals 1 whole. And then we're going to add the 104 to it. Do you see that? And that 1 plus 104 gives me, ta-da, 105. Do you see that? 105. Okay, see it? Got to keep this paper behind there because the light's making you see through it. All right, so now I added these two together. I added 70 and 5 tenths plus 34 and 5 tenths, and I saw that it gave me 105. And then I'm going to add my next number, which is 43 and 6 tenths to that. Now, you know our fraction is going to be 6 tenths. All I've got to do is add my two whole numbers. Okay? So 105 plus 43. If you can't do that in your head, then line them up like you're supposed to on another sheet of paper. On your scratch sheet, 105 plus 43. Remember, line your numbers up according to their place value, like that. 5 plus 3 is 8. 4 plus 0 is 4. And 1 plus nothing is 1. So 105 plus 43 equals 148. And my fractions left over is going to be 6/10. So my answer is 148 and 6/10. But you know 6/10 isn't simplified, so I'm going to go ahead and simplify. When I simplify that fraction, remember I have to find the largest factor they've got in common, 6 and 10, and I'm going to divide them by the largest factor they've got in common. The largest factor they have in common is 2. So let's divide it by 2. I'm going to divide my 6 by 2 and my 10 by 2. I'll go ahead and bring over my whole number, 148. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. I'm sorry, guys. This is piled up on top of each other because this board is so tiny. But can you see how I simplified? I divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. Your final answer to the entire problem is 148 and 3/5. Couldn't read it quite backward because my writing is so small over there. Okay. All right, so that's the first one. So it says the distance from Dry Tortugas Lake House to the Alligator Reef Ride House is 148 miles and 6/10, but I don't like it left unsimplified, so we simplified it to 148 and 3/5. Let me write that in my book. Okay? All right. Let's go at the top. Let's go to the top of page 436. All right, it says use the properties in mental math to solve 1 1/3 plus 2 plus 3 2/3. So here's the problem. I'm going to rewrite it. 1 1/3 plus, and in parentheses, they've got 2 plus 3 2/3. Now, they want us to first use the commutative property to regroup and flip these add-ins around, okay? So, instead of having my whole number right here, what they're saying is easiest to do is go ahead and regroup using the commutative property. We're going to regroup and we're going to put 1 1/3 plus 3 2/3 together, and we're going to add them. And put those in parentheses first, and then we're going to add the 2 whole number to it, okay? And again, that's the commutative property. Commutative property. That's when, again, you can change your add-ins and regroup them, just making it easier for you to be able to work together. Put these numbers together to make it easier. So now, okay, now I'm wrong, guys. I'm wrong. I left out a step. I'm sorry. What they wanted us to do first, that I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. This one, I'm gonna keep it the same way. This one's gonna be the associative property. My bad. Just a different group. I left out one step, but it's okay. It's easier this way. So I'm sorry. It's the associative property when I grouped it differently. Okay. Now I'm going to add. Now, I'm below this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you that 1 plus 3 gives me 4. And then my 1/3 plus 2/3 gives me 3/3. Can you see what Miss Cundiff is doing? Okay, my 1 plus 3, 4. And my 1/3 plus 2/3 gives me 3/3. So 4 3/3 is the same thing as what, guys? It's the same thing as 5. Can you understand that? Okay. So, that equals 5. And then we're going to pull down my plus 2. Okay. So do you see how 4 3/3 equals 5? And then we're going to add plus 2. So 5 plus 2 equals what, guys? 7. Okay. All right. Now let's look at the next example there at the share and show. Complete the name and property used. All right, so number 1, they've got in parentheses 3 4/10 plus 5 2/10 plus 6. My board's not big enough. All right. Now, you can see, and it says equals, okay? No, Miss Cundiff's wrong. It says plus 6/10. What am I thinking? All right. So what they tell you to do is to use the commutative property. So I'm coming down here, but it's the same equation, and I'm going to rewrite it. Equals, and I'm going to regroup using my commutative property. I'm going to put 5 2/10 plus 3 4/10. I'm going to put those in parentheses together. And then plus, and the blank is going to be 6/10. This is a blank right there. Can you follow me? I'm sorry that mine is not, my board's not big enough, guys. I'm sorry. I wish I had the Elmo here at home so I could write this on the page with you guys, but I don't. And on the line out from it, they want us to identify the property. And on that line, you're going to write commutative property of addition. And that's that line that's out from it. So you would write commutative on the line. Commutative property of addition. This is all the first line. This is going straight across, but my board's not big enough to do it, guys. So all of this, and this go straight across the page on that first line. You following me? If you need a minute, just pause the video and get it in a straight line, because I'm going to have to erase mine and do the next line, okay? All right, so then the next line wants us to regroup together. And they've got they've taken it apart and used the associative property, and they regroup again, and they've got 5 2/10 plus 3 4/10. And I'm going to explain why they did this. Plus, and on the line, you're going to put 6/10 on that missing section there. This is 6/10 right there. The reason that they're doing this, guys, is because they want this fraction and this fraction gives you a whole. So then they're going to take 4/10 plus 6/10 is going to give you 10/10, and it equals 1. Then they're going to add that 1 to the 3 to give me 4. See it, guys? And then they're going to add it to this. Okay? So, if you look, here's the next line. Out from that, you're going to put the associative property on the line too, guys. Let me write it up this way. Associative property of addition. I'm sorry, guys, that my board is not big enough. So on the line out from it, put associative property of addition. Okay. Now below it, they pull down the equals. They pull down 5 2/10, and they go ahead and add in parentheses. And like I said before, 4/10 plus 6/10 gives me a whole, because 4 plus 6 is 10. So 10/10 right there. Do you see it? Equals 1. And then they're going to add the 3 to it. Okay? See how they did that, guys? I'm going to keep that right there. They don't have it in parentheses, but I'm sort of showing you a little bit more of a step right there, because I want you to see where the 4 comes from that they got. Okay, so 10/10 equals 1. That cancels out, and all they're doing is adding the 3 plus 1 to get 4. So you don't have to write all this on the line. I just wanted to show you where they got 4. So you can put 5 2/10 plus 4 on the line. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and erase this and put 4 right there so you can follow along with where I'm at. Okay, and then now the next step, you're going to add the 5 and the 4, the whole numbers, and that's going to give me 9. And what am I left with? The fraction 2/10. And that's not simplified. 2/10 is the same thing as, remember, we can divide by 2. Bring over your whole number, 9. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 9 and 1/5, excuse me. All right, now, guys, I think... Okay, nah, never mind. I was going to break this up, but we will do each of these problems together. How about that? I was going to break it up and let you guys do this today, but I think on the lesson plan that I sent home, you're supposed to do 437 and 438. So let's go ahead and practice a couple of these together at the bottom. Let's look at number 2. Number 2 is 2 7/8 plus 3 2/8. They've got that group together, and then they've got plus 1 1/8. Now, let's look at how I would assess this. 7, I would probably not group these two together. The reason I wouldn't is because, guys, you know, this 7 plus 2 is going to give me 9/8. You want one that's going to give you a whole. So I would group this together. I would regroup. I would use the associative property to regroup. So I'm going to come down here and regroup. I'm going to put 2 7/8 together plus 1 1/8 together. Then plus 3 2/8. Now, come down here. 7 plus 1 is 8. So that's going to give me 8/8 right there, which equals what, guys? A whole. See it? So then you've got 2 plus 1 is going to give me 3, plus this other one is going to give me what? 4. Do y'all see that? So you're really just working with 4 plus now 3 2/8. Okay? So I add together the 4 plus 3. That's going to give me 7 2/8. See how I got it? 7 and 2/8. And then this is not simplified. We can divide each by 2. 7 comes over. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So your answer to that would be 7 1/4. As we are working through this, guys, what I would do is pause it each time. If I'm going too fast, just pause it and take your time to work at your own pace. Work it, pause it, work it, and then watch me do it, and that will let you see if you're correct. Okay, so we're doing all this together for these next few, and then I'm going to turn you loose and let you do the other 2 pages tonight for homework. All right, number 3. 1 2/5 plus 1 whole plus 3/5. Again, I'm going to regroup these, okay? And I'm going to regroup them because the 3/5 plus 2/5 is going to give me, that's going to give me a whole, okay? So down here, I'm going to regroup, and I'm going to put 1 2/5 together with 3/5. Why? Because I know that gives me a whole. Then I'm going to add the 1 to it. Remember, 2/5 plus 3/5, that gives me what? 5/5, which equals a whole. And then you're going to add the other whole. So 1 and 1 is going to give me what, guys? It's going to give me 2. Then I'm going to have the plus 1. And then 2 plus 1 is 3. My answer is 3 to number 3. All right. Number 4. 5 3/6. I really wish I had my smart board behind me. I'm going to ask him to come and put it up on my board, up on my wall back here, guys, in my office at home. 5 3/6 plus 5 5/6. Ooh, let's see, I'm running out of room. Plus 4 3/6. Oh gosh, guys, I'm running out of room over here. Sorry, looks a little bit off, but there you go. Now, which one of these is going to give me a whole? Which fraction? These 2. So I'm going to regroup. You're kind of just finding the fractions that's going to give you a whole. You're regrouping them together. You're doing that as the commutative property, but then when you regroup them, it's the associative property. When you try to figure out which ones go together, that's the commutative. Then putting them together in a new group is associative. Plus 5 5/6. Okay? Again, these 2 give me a whole, so I know that 3/6 plus 3/6 gives me 6/6, which gives me a whole, right? Then I'm going to add 5 plus 4 is 9. Do you see that? That's 9. And then the 9 plus the fraction, the 9 whole plus this one that this fraction made up is what, guys? 10. You see it? 10 plus 5 5/6. And 10 whole plus 5 is going to give me 15 and what? 5/6. Okay. This video is running long, isn't it, guys? All right, number 5. 1 1/4 plus 1 1/4 plus 2 3/4. Do you see how 3/4? You're going to regroup, and it doesn't matter because this is the same number. 1 1/4 and 1 1/4, yes. And then 1/4 plus 3/4 gives you a whole. So we're going to group that together like this. We're going to have 1 1/4 plus 2 3/4 plus another 1 1/4. Yep. Again, 1/4 plus 1/4 gives me, 1/4 plus 3/4 gives me a whole. It's going to give me 4/4. And that equals the whole. That's where you're getting that whole. And then 2 plus 1 is 3. And then the 1 plus the 3 whole gives me 4. 4 plus 1 1/4 is going to give me what, guys? 5 1/4. Okay. Now we got 2 more before I turn you loose tonight and let you practice on your own. All right, let's look at number 6. Let me see if I turn it this way, if I might have more room. Number 6 is 12 4/9 plus 1 2/9 plus 3 5/9. All right, figure out what you're going to add to, you can add together to get you to a whole. To how many ninths? 9 ninths. Oh, I know 5 plus 4 gives me 9, so I'm going to group those two. 12 4/9 plus 3 5/9 plus 1 2/9. Okay? 5 plus 4 is going to give me 9 ninths. This right here, I'm just showing you this. You can really do that in your head. You don't have to show that step, but I'm showing you to show you where I combine these together. 9 ninths gives me a whole. Then 3 plus 12 is 15, and then the 1 plus 15 is going to give me what, guys? 16. So I know this added together is 16. Plus 1 2/9, what's it going to give me? It's going to give me 17 2/9. All right. This video is going to take forever to upload because it's so long, guys. All right, number 7 is 3/12. No whole number to work with that one. Plus 1 8/12. Plus, ooh, this one's a little bit different. Plus 9/12. No, it isn't. I'm sorry, my bad. Just got the fractions together. These are going to go together because 9 plus 3 gives me 12. 12 twelfths is going to give me a whole. So I'm going to group those together. 3/12 plus 9/12. And then plus the 1 8/12. Again, 3 plus 9 gives me 12/12. That's going to give me a whole. So that's going to be 1 plus the 1 8/12. Still ran out of room, so I'm going to do it right here. That's going to give me 2 8/12. But you've got to simplify the 8/12 by dividing it by 4. When you divide each by 4, oh my goodness, I'm out of room. I'm going to come up here and turn it sideways. I'm sorry. That gives me 2. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So when you simplify 2 8/12, it gives me 2 2/3. Okay? If you guys have any questions, as always, just message. And I want you guys tonight to do 437 and 438. Okay? Hope you guys are having a great day. It's a little bit chilly out there. I'm getting a late start. Had to go to the store for my mama because my daddy and them, they can't be out in this public and get sick. So I get to be the store goer for them. I was gonna see if I could show you my pretty kitty cat that I rescued from the playground down at the school, but I don't think he's in here. I think he left. Oh, he did. I'll find him one day and I'll get it and I'll show him to you guys, but I'll get the video uploaded and have it up pretty soon. Thanks. See you soon.